it's
And
Kat.
this is your Monsters After Show in association with JLJ Media, right here live on the 10th floor. 10th Floor Podcasts Reacts. And Mom, I promise,
Mm.
no matter what, I'm never going to do this to you.
Oh gosh, I would hope not. Oh my God. Oh my gosh.
Wouldn't that be,
You know
I
what?
mean, no, let's not even dream of it, right?
Oh gosh, and I can clearly say from your childhood, I didn't do that to you either.
Well, thank you for
Oh
that.
my goodness.
Folks, in this episode, the police have raided Dr. Oziel's house because of Judalon's info dump to detectives Solar and Linehan from last episode. They retrieved the tapes, and Eric and Lyle are arrested. Their arraignment alienates them from the public a little bit more. Dead inside. Dead inside.
Hmm.
And the boys scramble to find a way to get out of jail. A few different
Hmm.
defenses, a couple of different lawyers, even a whack-a-doodle escape plan.
Yeah, I think, that was not really a plan. That was a fantasy.
That was a fantasy. My note
It
actually
wasn't a plan.
is escape fantasy. It wasn't definitely
Mm,
not a plan.
not a plan.
Ultimately, they wind up being separated in prison, and that leads us to getting to know two new main characters, two new prominent lead cast characters, in Nathan
Hmm.
Lane as Dominic, what's his name? Dominic Dunn, the
Hmm.
journalist for Vanity Fair,
Yes.
and their attorney Leslie Abramson, who
Yes,
I
yes. And I don't know what the name of the other lawyer is, the one that's defending Lyle.
Jill, I think is yeah, I wrote written here. Jill,
Hmm.
Jill is the only name here. But we didn't meet Jill until the next episode, until episode
Right,
4.
right, right.
Episode 3, though, episode 3 took us on a ride, folks. All right, these first 2 episodes of Monsters painted us, I guess, what would have been the story from like Dominic Dunn's point of view,
Uh-huh.
with the depiction of who they are,
Hmm.
how they interact with the world around them,
Hmm.
what might have gone on in that hotel room in
Right.
Bel Air.
Hmm.
But now in this episode, it seems as though we might be pulling back that curtain a little bit and taking a look at maybe a little more reality. Now, folks, this show is now 1 day removed. All 9 episodes are available. That means a lot of people have already seen it. We haven't seen the whole thing yet, but a lot of people have. And boy, oh
Yeah.
boy, do you need to eat the salt with this story, apparently. You
We
don't take it
we
with a grain of salt, you take it with a spoonful.
yeah. Yeah. We are trying to, we're not, it's tempting to watch it, but we don't want to watch ahead what we're doing podcast on.
Yeah,
So
we're trying
tomorrow
to,
I'll watch episode 5 and 6.
exactly. And then Monday we're gonna be here to rehab to finish it all.
Yep.
With 7, 8, 9.
Wrap it
So yeah, to wrap it up. So hopefully you're able to join us all for the entire ride of the Monsters
up.
After Show here on 10th Floor Reacts with Matt and Kat,
Yes.
mother and son. By the way, if you don't know, mother and son. So come on, we're
Yeah,
gonna talk
you
about
didn't know. Yep.
we're gonna talk about some crazy stuff that happened in a family that's not ours.
Hmm.
And so let's kind of climb right into this, Ma. Let's try to be as chronological as I possibly can here through the notes. My first note here is arrest in the streets. And
Hmm.
then really kind of the different speeds that these brothers are going on when it comes to their arrest and then how they acclimate to jail.
Man, it was rough for them.
So we get Lyle wrestled down to the ground outside of his house by the cops. Not
Hmm.
just a couple of detectives. It was like the SWAT team.
It was. Yes.
Wrestling him down to the ground, throwing him in jail in front of his friends, in front of his neighbors, for everybody to see.
Hmm. Yes.
Well, Eric comes home at the airport to a couple of detectives, and he's like, "Oh man."
The same dudes that went to the house, a couple of them were at the LAX as right at the gate as he walked off the plane.
Mm-hmm.
And the lawyer, his lawyer had, some really good advice. You get your hiney back home, you're going to wind up in prison in
Over
Israel,
there.
over
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
and you may never see the U.S.
We don't
again.
want that. We don't need that. Just come on home, Eric. So we
You're
can begin
right.
your defense because this is happening. This is real. You are being arrested for this because of the tapes.
Mhm.
And as it turns out, and this is a true fact, as it turns
Mhm.
out, because they had threatened, or because Lyle had threatened the life of Dr. Oziel, that removes the doctor-patient confidentiality from it entirely, making these
Wow.
tapes now admissible in court,
Mhm.
now admissible to charge these brothers with this taped, uncoerced confession.
Yes.
And of course, now the
Yes.
defense has to find out why. But before we get too deep into the whys, they're in jail. They have to start. Their lives are totally different.
I found the whole interaction with Shapiro quite
Mm-hmm.
interesting too.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, y'all are going to the gas chamber.
Yeah. So listen, you guys are gonna definitely go down for this, and you're definitely gonna get the DP, the penalty of non-existence, here in the great state of California. So we need to figure out. We need to cut a deal. He's the deal man. Robert
He's the
Shapiro
deal
is,
man.
and that's a name that I know. I know lawyer Robert Shapiro from, I guess, other
He
cases he did.
defended
Oh,
OJ.
is that what it is?
He was
Okay.
part of OJ's team.
All
And
right.
OJ's crime did not happen until 1994. I looked it up because I was like, how close were these two crimes,
Mm-hmm.
Because, of course, I recognize Shapiro as well.
Yeah.
And OJ, Nicole Brown was murdered in 1994,
Mm-hmm.
5 years after the Menendez brothers
Okay. Okay.
decided to end their parents.
Right. Right. But Shapiro didn't go for a plea deal with Simpson, unless he
No, he
did, and
didn't.
that's when Johnny Cochran came, or what was it? Johnny Cochran was the guy.
Johnny Cochran and Kardashian.
Oh yeah, Robert
Yeah,
Kardashian. Yeah, look at all of
that
that.
was
Look at the
his
history
team.
of law unfolding
That
right
was his
before us.
team.
Oh man, just the history of high profile cases. Ryan Murphy's already done a show about OJ. American Crime Story is what they called that one.
Huh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think that's a fact. Tell me if I'm wrong in the comments, folks. Uh,
So, it seemed like Eric and Lyle were somewhat thriving in jail as long as they were together. But man, Eric he couldn't eat anything because everything was great. He's living off of milk and
mm-hmm.
oh my
Well, yeah.
gosh.
So it was all of the acclimating to prison, because it is not a affluent place. It's not a place of finery. Every single time they asked
Oh,
for something that was a little fine, people were like, "Okay, all right, let's pump the brakes here a little bit, boys. You're in jail." Uh,
yeah. Yeah. We're
uh,
trying to help you not die.
yeah. And then and then poor dude's trying to like wash his wig in the sink.
Oh, man,
And just doing everything they can to hold on to any semblance of the life that they had felt as normal. And it's so interesting talking about it this way now, because there's been such a shift in how I believe that they have presented the characters now, where I find them to be far more sympathetic than I had in the first two episodes. I'm like, yeah, these two are monsters in those first two episodes. And now here I'm like, oh my gosh, these two terrible victims. And I'm wondering if the monsters of the show are actually the parents after all.
I have to say yes.
I mean,
From
at
what
this
I've seen
point,
so far.
we'll have
Now,
to see.
those boys though, man, they were not good human beings, really. They were so they were so
Certainly.
they were so used to being the fluency of their life.
What
You know,
affluenza is the word.
yeah. I mean,
Definitely suffering.
they just had every single thing.
They weren't good people, but I don't know if they were necessarily monsters.
No, I would not call them monsters. I think they were completely victims, but they seem to be able to, and they seem to be able to departmentalize their lives,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's like the home, and then there's everything else.
Yeah, and then there's everything
I guess
else.
that's a survival mechanism. You sort of have to do that.
Absolutely, it's a
You know?
survival mechanism.
And I guess that also lends into why it was so important for them to hold on to something that felt a little bit normal. So they can, like, we saw the impact on Eric. We saw how prison just sucked all life out of him to get started
It
with.
just completely drained him. It was like killed his spirit, it looked like.
Like completely. While Lyle, he was just inspired to hate. I mean, the name of the episode is "Brother Can I Borrow a Dime?" just inspired to keep people on the phone, to remain in contact with the outside world.
And always asking for, in his mind at the time, it was important, but asking for stuff that in the long run just wasn't going to make any difference.
Yeah, I mean, they were still leaning into, well, if we look if we look rich, if we look like we have it together, then we'll be fine. We'll be found innocent of this. They'll believe us. Because look at us. We have it to, we're young men who have the future in front of us. Now, the way it's written, the way it's played, Lyle was saying all of these things in a much more manipulative fashion than maybe the original story goes. I don't know, because there's so much out there now. And we might have to do an extended episode here at the end, like a final look reflection, in which we also take a look at some of the reaction of the show as well, to kind of compare.
Sure.
Because Eric Menendez has written a whole letter already condemning the show.
Oh, has he?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So check that out, folks, if you haven't seen it yet.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's I mean, like I said, you got to eat this thing with a spoon of salt, right?
Well, where there was the scene that I thought, well, this probably didn't happen. I know that they were incarcerated in the very beginning in the same place. That's what they're depicting.
Yeah.
Yes, for a period of time they were in the same place and then they got separated. I doubt they put them side by side.
Oh yeah, where they can like touch fingers.
Yes, I doubt that happened.
No.
Perhaps they heard each other and they were able to yell across the way.
Yeah. I mean, they found a way to smuggle notes to each
think-
other in some other way than passing them through a shared bar.
No, I don't believe they would house them next door to one another like that. They wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But I mean, they're just doing what they can to get through up to a point where I mean, it must be in the next episode. Where is it? Because I wrote down in one of my notes here that Eric gets a prison boyfriend. There it is. It is in this one. So, I mean, Eric looking for companionship, sympathy, someone, just somebody.
Absolutely. I think so, especially Eric. And Eric appeared to be way more afraid than Lyle. And I think he was for protection too.
Yeah, companionship, protection.
Someone that might come to his aid.
And poor dude, I mean,
sort of thing. Someone that might come to his aid.
Yeah, I mean, and poor dude too. Like, because this also the introduction of this prison boyfriend, their initial meeting in the shower, how willing Eric was to engage in those activities. And then their conversation on the in the yard. And this show is just so gay, folks. It's just a gay show. You just have to ride with it. And just in the shots, the depiction, who's in the background, what are people doing, how are they dressed? It's just a super gay show. Whatever. But moving past that, the content of the conversation was the first hint that the show has given us of the incredibly seedy boxcar experiences of these two when they were younger. And boxcar we use as a euphemism for something that should be very obvious. Since we're getting into this portion of the talk. It's the first hint, the confusion, I don't really, know what I am, but I know that I like you. I know that I know, I mean, I think that was the line. I know that I like you.
Yeah, that's what he said. I know that I like you. I've heard of these kind of things too, where first it looks like Jose was messing with Lyle first. And when Lyle put up with it for a while and put his foot down at really young too. So that must have been extremely frightening that he put his foot down pretty young.
Yeah.
But then he went on to mess with his brother for a period of time. He didn't know that.
No.
And then Lyle messed with his brother too. But I understand to a certain degree.
I want to get a confirmation. So you remember that details from the case?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
Because I want to get that confirmed, because the way that they depicted it in the show made me very made me a little questionable because at first it was like, oh, so your brother did these things to you. And then they expanded past that. And this is after he starts to talk to Dr. Vickery. After
Mm-hmm,
the
mm-hmm.
after Leslie Abramson pushes him in that direction,
Yes.
so they can find some sort of defense, because this
Mm-hmm.
lawyer's whole way of going about things is trying to find the why. Why did these people? Because there's the defenses and the why, not that they did this, but the
Mm-hmm.
circumstances and the reasonings and all of that. So that's
Didn't
what
you
they're
find it
searching for.
interesting?
Hmm.
Didn't you find it interesting when when the lawyer Abrams went to go find see the family and
Hmm.
explained how she had helped that other individual wind up with 3 years of probation,
Yeah.
and that was all the punishment because of it's. I found it interesting that the family didn't speak up and say, but that didn't happen to them, or try to mask it in some way, they didn't seem to be all that reactionary her to her
Yeah.
story,
I mean, I don't know if that
with
was
saying anything about
anything
anything that was going on in that
that they may have
house.
heard. I mean, I think the cousin was sitting in there, and that might have potentially been one of the cousins that Lyle had
And
spoken
Lyle
to.
had confided in.
But then also at the same time, this was still something that happened when they were very young. So it's entirely possible that the cousin just didn't really know how to process it. And as an
Mhm.
adult, hasn't really having any sort of anchoring information. So with this presentation, there wouldn't necessarily be like some sort of like, oh, but that, oh ho, hey now, this isn't the same thing. Because
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know, because I think I saw something in a little bit of the research and reaction that I've seen about how like the uncle might have known, but then also was just like that. Never. Come on, my brother wouldn't do that.
Or, we don't know. Maybe the uncle was doing that same thing to their children in the other
I don't
household.
know. I don't know. I mean, I think that after the show is now that the show is out, there might be a lot more people looking into things and talking about things. This is 2024 now. We're able to dust off all kinds of stuff that people weren't able to suss out before. Even now, if you take a look at a lot of the reaction out there, and a lot of people reacting to this case through the lens of 2024 in like a post Me Too world. There's a
Hmm.
lot of sympathy that exists out there now for the
Hmm.
Menendez brothers and what they went through. I guess now at this point proven what they went through from other people speaking up outside of the family. That Jose may
That's
have
true.
done these things too as well. I think at this point we'll just have to take it as fact because we can't ask him. Hello, Pony.
No, you can't ask him. You can't certainly can't ask him. But uh, like the character that works for Vanity Fair. I forgot that Dominic.
Dominic Dunn. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he said that kids don't kill their parents for just any old frivolous reason.
No, I mean, yeah, that's in the next episode when he's definitely trying
Hmm.
to, regale the audience, and we'll get
Right.
into the
But
details of
he did
that.
and it's true. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
typically, unless, sure, there's some unhinged kids that might turn on their parents for no reason, but
I mean,
I
you can't
think
say
most of
never.
them can't say
You
never,
can't say never,
but
but not real life isn't Law and Order.
no.
Is basically I think what that boils down to.
Yeah.
Uh, and this is definitely the Law and Order sensationalized version of the Menendez story. Because they're
Hmm.
certainly
Hmm.
taking us on a ride from it for it, all the way up
Hmm.
through a completely depicted with prosthetics escape fantasy. We're gonna get our friend to drive in here, burst through the gate. We're gonna hop in the car. We're gonna go to Mexico. We're gonna get our faces changed. We're gonna go here, there, and everywhere, and eventually we're gonna
They
be free.
they they reminded me of the Wayans brother in the where they're dressed up as
Me
white girls.
too. Me too. I think that might have been the intention. I think that might have been the purpose.
They
Just
did
a
remind me
reference
of the
to,
Wayans brothers.
if we were another channel that really broke it down scene by scene, there are YouTube channels out there that do that. They might say something like, "Well, this is a reference to White Chicks with the Wayans brothers."
Well, that's what it reminded me of.
It did too, like with the lips and the very the smoothness. Yeah, I think they
Hmm.
were just going for cheap and obvious, which is
Hmm. Hmm.
that movie.
And they reminded me of like a white Milli Vanilli too.
Oh, well, there you go. Maybe that's another reference right there. I was looking at this Brother Can I Borrow a Dime, and I'm thinking, is this another Milli Vanilli song? Like, I don't know.
Oh my
No,
gosh. Lyle was trading like $100 bills for a dollar's worth of dimes.
I guess he needed to stay connected to the outside. I
Oh,
think
and
is
he
what
was
that
just
was
like
about.
banging the phone receiver. Ah, dimes!
Yeah.
And tells the one of the other prisoners next to him, "Hey brother, can I borrow a dime?" And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, surprised he didn't slap him or something.
Well, I mean, if you do me this favor, sure, I'll let you borrow
Uh-huh.
a dime. No, I don't think it's worth that.
No, I don't want
A
to do that
stack of
one.
dimes, maybe, but not just one, fellow prisoner. Uh, 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 I always write in here in the notes. Ryan Murphy is Ryan Murphying, just because of things like the shower scene and we two shower scene. I mean, we're just taking people in showers all the time. We got Eric in the shower with his prison boyfriend, and then we
Mm-hmm.
got Lyle in the shower. So if you ever wanted to see soap star Nicholas Alexander Chavez's butt through a steamy shower window, boy, do I have the show for you.
Yeah, and we still have we still have 5 episodes to watch, so perhaps
Are we
I don't
going to
know
see
what
his
else we'll see.
prosthetic wang doodle as well?
Maybe.
Uh,
You never know.
so I'm sorry to break the fantasy for anybody out there, but Netflix extensively and exclusively uses prosthetics for their male shots. We'll say to try to keep the YouTube gods at bay. uh, unless
One particular person in the household that was watching it with me said, "Why everybody got such a big schlong on TV? I don't get it."
exactly, because it's all fake. It is all
And
fake.
it's all fake.
It's all fake. It ain't him. And if it is, congratulations. That ain't him. That ain't him. So we got to know the beginnings in this episode. We got we got to know two new main cast members that we're gonna have throughout the rest of the series. We talked about them
Mhm.
a little bit already. We got Leslie, the lawyer. We got Dominic, the press guy, and they have a personal connection between the two of them because she defended his daughter's killer, her murderer.
Yes. Yes.
Defended him. I don't know if she got him off, but defended him nonetheless.
Mm-hmm.
And that's some bad blood. They don't like each other. Well, he
Mm-hmm.
doesn't like her. I don't think she cares. She doesn't
No,
seem to
she
give a damn.
doesn't really care. She doesn't really care. Yeah, what, and kind of a side beat too. And we saw more of this, and it was started in I think in episode 3,
Mm-hmm.
but she obviously does not want to. She didn't want to adopt no kid.
No,
She doesn't really want to.
no. I think that she wants to when she's not trying a major case. When she's trying a
Exactly.
major case, then yeah, no. Yeah, we saw a lot more of that later.
Yeah.
I think that we saw her being a great arguer, is what that was.
Mhm.
She's lawyering it up in the adoption office, and that's the first scene that we got to meet her. So I'm like, who is this lady? What does this have to do with anything? And soon we learn she's a lawyer, and I'm like, okay, well, she'll be
Mhm.
picking up where Mr. Shapiro left off and defending
Yeah,
one of these
because the
boys.
boys fired him.
Well, the family, I guess. I don't know if
Yeah,
them or the
everybody
family
fired
or
him.
just
Like, oh,
everybody
yeah, they gave
together.
him walking papers.
Yeah, but he was not sticking around. But she comes in. She's not going to adopt no baby. Not right now, at least. Got to meet her husband, who's sympathetic and supportive so far. So far.
So far.
We'll see how the struggle bus drives by their house
I
later
have
on.
I have a feeling this case like takes over her life for a period of time.
I would imagine so. It's incredibly high profile, and there's so much to sift
Incredibly high.
through.
Yeah. And she
So
was
much.
so thrilled when she found out that they were interested in talking to her too.
Yeah.
She was like, cha-ching.
The who?
Yep.
Oh my
She
goodness.
was excited. She was
Uh,
excited. But man, I did feel sorry for them boys. I did feel sorry for
Yeah, I
them
mean,
boys.
so we got to get to know, and then so in the next episode, we really get to know the parents, and we get to know pretty much everything from Lyle's point of view.
Yeah.
Coming up in the next episode. In this one, we just kind of rip off the Band-Aid when it comes to it. we get an extended scene between Eric and Dr. Vickery,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
which he and then yeah, and then Leslie and Eric on top of that as well, where
Mm-hmm.
she kind of has to pull it out of him one more time
Right.
because she needs to hear it. She's the lawyer. This has to be
Lyle
admissible.
Lyle desperately did not want to talk to this. He wanted so badly for it not to be discussed.
The poison of his father had seeped in so deeply into the psyche of Lyle at this point that protecting the
Mm-hmm.
family and putting in the strong face and making sure that nobody ever knows this happened was such a truth for him.
Sure.
And I'm looking forward to talking about his interview in the next video, which is coming up very soon, because we went on a bit of a ride in the next episode. So I look forward to talking to you about that
Mm-hmm.
in no explicit detail, because goodness gracious, especially the explicit detail of this one, because goodness gracious, it included detail that we never even thought about as human beings. And to hear this coming from the mouth of someone who's talking about their father is, I don't know, it was weird and interesting. It was a strange thing to juggle as a viewer and also a podcaster who has to talk about it. Because on one thing, I'm like, is this really some of the things that he had to say? Or is this
Right.
Ryan Murphy dreaming about some of the things that he had to say or some of the things that he may had to do? And if it's Ryan Murphy just making something up because he thinks, oh, this, that, and the other thing, then what a demented man.
I don't I don't honestly don't think that's good form really because this is a true story and these folks are alive.
Yeah. It seems as though some falsehoods have definitely been put into the details of some of
Mm-hmm.
these things. Not the major broad strokes, the bad relationship with the parents, the boxcar situation when they were younger, the buying of the shotguns, the process of how long it took, how they were arrested, what's going to go on in this trial. All the broad strokes are going to tell the story, but in the details, oh boy, some liberties seem to be taken in major ways.
There was a couple of times in that episode, when they were talking about your kitchen spices. I and I did kind of gasp,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
wow.
yeah. I mean, that's
And,
probably what they're going for,
and,
shock value. Like Howard
and I had
Stern.
to I had to remind myself that I am watching, um,
It's a Netflix Ryan Murphy show, monsters.
Ryan Murphy. That's it right
I
there.
mean, yeah,
And
I mean,
that's
it's really what it boils down to every time.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
It's Ryan
I
Murphy.
was reminded that, well, yeah, why should you be surprised? This
Yeah,
is Ryan Murphy, I
if it,
watched other Ryan Murphy
if it was
things.
any other person making the show, any other person at all, it would
Well,
be even more shocking. But when you settle down and sit down to watch a show like this, and you kind of expect to hear or see some things that are gory,
mhm,
that are graphic, that
yeah,
are pushing R hard,
yeah,
especially on a television format, which Netflix is kind of a blended, blurred television, not
right.
television, HBO kind of thing, right? Like
Exactly,
Oz on
yeah. You
HBO.
got to pay for it to be able to view it.
Premium
So,
for sure, for sure.
yeah.
But we, the first two episodes we gave a star rating. Let's give a star rating to this one. I'm gonna give this one a 3 out of 5. It was there. It was fine. It presented the information. Some of it, I
Give it a
think,
3.5.
3.5 out of 5. It's for me. I think it
3.5
was.
out of
I
5.
think it was the potential liberties that was taken in Eric's details
Mm-hmm.
of sitting there. But really, what's carrying this show for me is really the actors behind it. It's not. It's not necessarily. No offense to the people who worked on this show. It's not the costumes. It's not the set design. I mean, it's slightly 90s. It's got a twinge to it.
I think episode 1 and 2 did a really good job of depicting the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I mean, hairstyles and wardrobe, perfect.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But I guess, they're maybe easing off of the over the top depictions of things like that. Now, of course, I've got some slight memories of what it was like in that time period, some small ones. But mostly pictures, grainy, granular pictures,
Mm-hmm.
grainy ones. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
that's kind of what my memories are of the 90s as well. So when you see a clear depiction of the 90s, you're like, this is a cartoon. Anyway.
Yeah.
But the acting for me is really carrying it forward. Not necessarily no offense to the people who are working on it, and not necessarily the writing, which is fine. Not necessarily the set design, which is fine. Not necessarily the direction, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
But the acting, I think that these actors really have been picking up the material and running the field with it, scoring touchdowns and kicking their own field goals to make a sports reference.
It's been very good. I can't say that anybody on this show is, I thought, oh, no, they're all good.
Mm-hmm.
They're all
Yeah.
good.
Yep. And we're gonna definitely get down into a long monologue and scene setup situation with Lyle in the next episode. So thanks for joining us for this particular reaction, everybody who stopped by to say hey, including you, Pony. Hello, Pony. We're going to shut this particular video down. We're going to start another one up in about 5 minutes. So reload and refresh, like the video if you haven't, subscribe to the channel if you've enjoyed our reactions so far. We got episodes 1 and episode 2 out here on YouTube and also on JLJ Media out there in the audio platform. So if you're looking for us on Spotify for this, iHeartRadio and beyond, look for JLJ Media after shows for Monsters and you'll find us. You'll be able to listen to take us in the car, listen to us a couple of times, break it down with us. Leave a comment, like the video, subscribe. I've been Matt.
I've been Kat.
And we'll see you for more after show right after this.